The conversation delves into how societal progress, marked by safety and comfort, paradoxically distances us from essential human experiences. Our guest reflects on how adversity's enduring effects can heighten the value of life.
Look at catastrophes like Hurricane Katrina. Many people really missed the closeness that came after. Everyone was so connected.
It's funny how things like racial division just faded away. Everyone cooperated.
This reflects a deeper truth. Adversity can forge unity that comfort makes us forget. Our guest explores how solo hunting exemplifies this principle.
The hunter ventures out alone like scouts among American Indians. It's terrifying, but you're doing it for your people. Coming back to the community is intoxicating.
Indeed, returning from danger reignites a sense of belonging, demonstrating evolutionary adaptability to adversity.
Being in danger and then returning to peace makes you appreciate it so much more. Constant peace can numb you.
The discussion suggests that we have grown detached, leading to a lack of appreciation for simplicity and belonging in modern life.
We're adapted to get through scarcity. If we're not deprived, we stop appreciating what we have. It's ironic.
The guest contemplates solutions, acknowledging their complexity.
It's a systemic issue, embedded in society from the industrial and technological revolutions. No easy fix exists, but fostering national belonging would help tremendously.
Ultimately, the conversation exposes how technological advances have both advanced and isolated society, urging us to reconsider our connection with community and adversity. The podcast shifts to the intricate balance required in politics between conservatism and liberalism, highlighting the adaptive roles both ideologies play in society.
I've come to see Donald Trump as a deeply troubled individual whose actions seem to stem from his own pain. Why else would he continually lash out like his ongoing feud with Rosie O'Donnell?
The guest suggests that Trump's presidency, though fraught with issues, might compel the GOP to reassess its priorities.
Trump's failure might actually do the country some good. The GOP needs to stop prioritizing party over nation and reconsider its partisan strategies. We need bipartisan efforts that put national welfare first.
The guest introduces the intriguing idea that political beliefs might be genetically influenced based on twin studies.
Studies show that identical twins, even when separated at birth, often maintain similar political views. This suggests a genetic basis for our beliefs.
This genetic predisposition underscores the necessity for balance between conservative and liberal ideologies, each contributing distinctively to societal health.
Sounds like conservatives keep us safe and liberals make sure we're not heartless. Quite the balancing act.
Exactly. A society entirely led by one ideology would be flawed. Both are needed to maintain a healthy and resilient society.
The conversation unfolds as the guest tackles the ethical complexities surrounding the choice to support a dictator in a collapsed state. This moral dilemma weighs heavily, as peace and justice often stand in opposition.
Sometimes it's a utilitarian argument like what's going to cause the least human suffering or promote the most human happiness.
He elaborates on how tolerating a tyrant temporarily could spare lives when a nation is on the verge of collapse.
The question is, okay, we make a tentative peace deal with him. We'll leave you in power. We won't try to topple you. But let's stop fighting.
The discussion pivots to the guest's passion for narrative work, revealing his drive to make sense of chaos and illuminate the human condition through documentaries and writing.
I like exploring a topic and starting to see connections between things.
He describes the intoxicating satisfaction that comes from threading together disparate elements into an organized narrative, both in his book Tribe and his documentaries.
That means other people can understand it. And then we can have a conversation about how the world works and how people work.
Well, you nailed it, and you definitely nailed it with the narrative work.
The guest further explores human nature, explaining how our social structure influences satisfaction in life.
My understanding of humans is that we are social primates that prefer to live in groups of about 50 people in a challenging environment.
The guest reflects on living in a tenement building, where residents relied on each other for safety. This experience contrasts sharply with the affluent upbringing he found stifling.
People were worried about being robbed. It's quite a poor building.
They organized guard shifts with the young men taking turns. To the guest, this illustrates the essence of humanity, mutual reliance, and connection.
The young men took turns guarding the building with a machete. That, to me, is what human beings are.
While affluent neighborhoods promise comfort and luxury, The guest observes they correlate with higher rates of depression and addiction.
Look at suicide rates, addiction rates in affluent neighborhoods. It's astronomical.
Boy, but try to convince people to abandon that. It seems so counterintuitive to them.
The guest suggests those in unfulfilling affluent lifestyles might find greater happiness in community-centric environments, encouraging a return to social connection.
Sell your house, sell your car if you can. Move into a community where you have to be interreliant.
The conversation turns vibrant as the host and guests delve into the importance of physical exercise for middle-aged men. They explore how activities like sprinting, weightlifting, and boxing can invigorate one's energy.
No, it completely makes sense. I mean, one of the things that they prescribe to middle-aged men is sprints, run up hills, carry heavy things, do squats, do things that stimulate your entire body.
Right, yeah, or boxing.
Yeah, or boxing, yeah, all those things. Listen, man, I've taken up enough of your time and I really appreciate it.
The host shifts focus to the guest's upcoming documentary, expressing eager anticipation for its release. This anticipation amplifies the energy exchange, highlighting the admiration between them.
And I'm really enjoying your book, and I'm looking forward to your documentary. And it's Hell on Earth, and it's available this Sunday. What time is it? Does it say up there what time it is? 9 Eastern, June 11th, 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
Their dialogue reflects a mutual appreciation for each other's work, showcasing a harmonious connection through shared insights and upcoming projects.
And I've enjoyed your work over the years, man, so it was a real pleasure to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks, man. A really, really nice, great conversation.
All right, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And she finally stood up with tarantulas falling off her. I mean, she couldn't take it. And I was like in the fetal position in the corner of my hotel room. It really messed me up for a few days.
Just makes you think if we don't totally understand genetic memories.
This thought leads seamlessly into a discussion of Hell on Earth, an intense first-hand look at the Syrian civil war's devastating impact.
Now, you've got a documentary out that you're working on as well? Well, it's out soon on the National Geographic Channel. It's about the Syrian civil war and the rise of ISIS.
How do you take thousands of hours like that and boil it down to one show?
It's very hard. It's about figuring out what's the 1% that goes into the film and how do I structure it.
Eye-opening statistics reveal the profound human toll of the Syrian conflict.
Over 400,000 Syrians, mostly civilians, have died. The equivalent death toll in this country would be 7 or 8 million Americans, and half the Syrian population has been displaced.
They examine the complexities of power vacuums created by deposing dictators.
Any country run by a brutal dictator, once that dictator is removed, there's this massive power vacuum.
Yeah, that would be the argument for not trying to remove him. He's horrible, but it was the argument for keeping Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi in power.
The conversation delves into how fears and global crises shape our world, urging deeper reflection. The discussion unveils a fascinating perspective on how early European settlers regarded Native American societies. These tribes represented a profound sense of community and egalitarianism that many settlers found lacking in their colonial lives.
I've been reading your book, Tribe, and it's really good. The part about European settlers preferring to live with Native Americans was interesting.
Yeah, many of them would hide to avoid being repatriated to colonial society. They felt adopted by the tribes.
The host notes this peculiar preference. Europeans were drawn to a life that provided better nutrition and social equality, starkly contrasting with colonial norms.
We have young colonials fleeing to the Indians, not the other way around.
Native societies offered a more varied diet and were much more egalitarian than colonial ones.
This sentiment resonates in their modern critique of today's society, which prioritizes individual success over communal interdependence.
It seems society we've built is almost incompatible with human genetics or spirit.
As wealth rises, so do suicide and depression rates. Urban environments aren't good for the human psyche.
The guest explains that humans evolved in small, interreliant groups, which modern society disrupts, leading to feelings of alienation.
Modern society allows individual independence, but it can result in profound alienation.
It's disturbing that those kidnapped by Native Americans wanted to stay. It seemed right.
We're wired to belong to a group. Native American society valued contributions to the group, which modern society has lost.
In essence, the conversation argues for a harmonious balance between serving oneself and the community, a balance that, if restored, could heal the modern sense of meaninglessness. We explore how the ease of modern living in affluent societies impacts psychological well-being. The guest emphasizes the significance of practice and failure as building blocks for mastery.
When you're presented with a challenge and do a task well, you get a little dose of endorphins. It encourages you to continue. It's how we adapt and survive in harsh circumstances.
In societies where basic needs are easily met, people may miss out on the intrinsic rewards from overcoming challenges.
The problem with modern society is the removal of survival tasks. No one's waking up each day trying to figure out how to survive physically. It's a blessing, but also a curse because there's no sense of mastery over circumstances.
It's the disconnected folks, like spoiled rich kids, who don't get the consequences of their actions.
The conversation examines the psychological consequences, particularly among the privileged who lack purpose.
This kind of life correlates with depression and drug abuse. The suicide rate rises fastest among middle-aged white men who are arguably the most privileged.
It's ironic, really. Those doing the best societally are doing the worst biologically.
Feeling needed within a group is essential for psychological health.
We are safest when we're needed. Humans don't survive alone. If people lose their job and can't find a new one, they're at high risk of depression.
The guest likens the 2008 economic collapse suicides to war casualties, illustrating a dire lack of purpose.
In 2008, the financial collapse caused 5,000 or 6,000 additional suicides in the US, mostly among middle-aged white men. That casualty rate mirrored the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
The discussion shifts to understanding how genetics and experience shape identities, beliefs, and abilities.
Just like there are genetic variations in height and personality, many traits, including political beliefs, are also shaped by experience. It's about 50% genetic and 50% experiential.
It's funny, people get really upset when they learn that genetics shape half of their political views. They want to believe otherwise.
The guest shares personal insights from being a distance runner, illustrating a genetic ceiling.
I wanted to be the fastest miler in the world. I trained as hard as anyone. But my ceiling was 4 out of 12. That was genetically determined.
The host relates this to mixed martial arts, where power can be an inherent trait.
In MMA, some are born with striking power. It's baffling. They look the same, but there's this inherent power.
This leads to a discussion on athletics and transgender individuals, focusing on genetic factors.
Testosterone impacts bone density and changes shoulders and the face, but doesn't alter the pelvis's shape. It raises questions about fairness and competition.
Genetic factors undeniably shape abilities, impacting fairness and competition.
Watching someone like Floyd Mayweather, you see he has skill in this unbelievable speed that most don't possess. It's clear genetic limits exist.
The dialogue embraces the duality of nature and nurture, highlighting the bounds and potentials of. The conversation unfolds around the remarkable adaptability of humans in the face of technological advancement. The guest, an experienced war journalist, brings a unique perspective on how cultural evolution and individual well-being are intertwined. In an age where technology accelerates change, most people still embrace simple, traditional lifestyles.
Most of humanity lives in a pretty simple and very poor way. Technology is like a tool, similar to the bow and arrow. It's a recent occurrence in evolutionary terms. What makes people feel good is challenge, not ease. And not just challenge, but in the context of a community of people.
So, living in these intense environments when you're a war journalist, how do you manage when you come back to a place like New York City?
There's often a kind of disappointment. When you wake up and your survival is a question mark, that's intoxicating. You're earning your existence. It's a relief to leave, but you can get quite depressed when you're no longer earning anything.
Returning from these demanding contexts often leads to an unexpected disillusionment. It echoes studies of Peace Corps volunteers who face high depression rates upon return, as challenge and community give life meaning.
It's like the future is gearing us for a symbiotic relationship with machines, given how reliant we are on technology.
Evolution doesn't promise happiness. It ensures we adapt to reproduce our DNA. Even in adverse or confined conditions, humans will physically endure. Happiness, though, often comes from overcoming hardship together. The segment deeply entwined with tech is quite small.
As cultures intersect and redefine meaning, the guest emphasizes that adaptability is not synonymous with happiness. Technology may alter lifestyles, but ancient values and kinship continue to be central. This duality raises thoughtful questions about modernity's comforts versus the fulfillment found in communal struggle. The conversation navigates the fascinating intersection of cultural education and evolutionary psychology. The guest and host delve into how innate fears and skills are intertwined with our evolutionary past.
Some people can pick things up late in life, but you rarely find an elite boxer who didn't start training before or around puberty.
The host emphasizes the importance of early development in achieving elite levels in skills like boxing and language. The guest expands on this, discussing how the brain wires itself during critical periods, affecting our ability to mimic languages perfectly.
After puberty, the brain can't exactly mimic a foreign accent. At a world-class level, early exposure is crucial.
They explore how genetic traits manifest in offspring, with the host highlighting how recognizably inherited traits emerge.
Watching traits come directly from DNA is fascinating. It's like seeing parts of you in your kid.
The guest explains how certain fears have survival significance, deeply rooted in our genetic memory.
Dogs that weren't scared of snakes died off more often, leaving fewer offspring. It's a survival mechanism.
They discuss phobias like arachnophobia and ophidiophobia, tying them to ancient survival threats rather than modern fears.
People aren't phobic of chairs because chairs weren't a survival threat in our past. But phobias can become anxiety disorders.
During Fear Factor, I saw risk-takers panic in front of snakes. It was a deep cellular fear.
The guest shares a personal story involving a fear of spiders, highlighting the intense nature of such phobias.
I saw Fear Factor in a hotel once. They dumped a drum of tarantulas on a woman in a bikini, and it left a mark.
In the heart of a boxing gym, a unique environment emerges where societal boundaries fade and genuine human connection thrives. Here, individuals come together, judged solely by their actions, mirroring the kinship found in traditional societies.
When my marriage began to unravel, boxing became a lifeline. I had never boxed before, but Mendez Boxing in New York was transformative. It was filled with people from all walks of life. Tough kids, Wall Street suits, women from every background. Inside those walls, identity was stripped away. It was like a combat platoon where respect was earned.
It's true. In martial arts, you build bonds unlike any other. It's a space defined by mutual respect and shared struggle.
The gym's egalitarian nature reflects our evolutionary needs. The guest draws parallels to hunter-gatherer societies, emphasizing that humans are inherently designed for physical activity.
In these societies, people engage in 2 hours of hard walking daily. This is what we're designed for. Without such activity, we face deficits in health and happiness.
Physical struggle is essential. Some avoid exercise, but it's crucial for both body and mind. There's unmatched peace that comes from such exertion.
Within the gym, acts and attitude define worth, breaking down barriers of wealth, race, and background. This sense of community and physical exertion offers not just fitness, but mental solace amid personal crises. It's a return to something fundamental, offering peace and identity beyond societal labels. Examining the profound effects of adversity on human behavior, our journey starts with the comparison to ecological systems. Much like ecosystems, human societies adapt and thrive or struggle under external threats, setting aside individual struggles for the greater good.
The shift in behavior post-9/11 is notable. PTSD and crime rates decreased, which leads us to discuss evolutionary adaptations with our guest.
Adversity produces pro-social behaviors. After 9/11, suicide and crime rates went down because people felt needed by their society. If you're needed, you can ignore personal troubles.
The guest brings in a historical perspective, suggesting humanity is the product of individuals who thrived under crisis by prioritizing community over self during critical times.
If adversity produced bad behaviors, we wouldn't be here. We're descendants of those who acted well in a crisis. Groups that encourage self-sacrifice survived. That DNA is passed to us.
Did you gain an appreciation for this from your time as a war journalist?
Yes, my experiences shaped my views. A surrogate uncle of mine, half Lakota Sioux, half Apache, would remark how white people always ran off to join the Indians, not the other way around.
During his time with soldiers in Afghanistan, the guest observed a longing for the intense community felt in combat.
They didn't want to come home, not because they craved war, but because they missed each other. The intense communalism of platoon life. It resonated with our genetic evolution to live in small groups under harsh conditions.
This points to a deep-seated need for belonging and community, agents for resilience and cooperation mirroring ancient social structures. The platoon's connection echoes evolution and our enduring pursuit of belonging. The discussion unfolds with the guest critiquing the integrity of the economic system, focusing on how corporate leaders received massive bonuses while their companies were bailed out, undermining public trust.
It's very disturbing. Companies got bailed out by taxpayers, but the corporate heads who bankrupted them were taking bonuses of $10, $20, $30 million. It makes me feel like we don't really have a country.
This lack of accountability challenges foundational values, leading to societal disillusionment. The host injects humor, but notes the reality of this confusion.
Most people aren't even aware of how screwy the whole thing was. There's a documentary, An Inside Job. It's fantastic seeing those economics professors fold under truth.
It makes a person think like, wow, is there something called America? Like in the sense that we'll defend ourselves if we're attacked?
The conversation shifts to the allure of extremist groups, as individuals seek purpose amidst chaos.
We seem to be in a deep state of confusion. Even Trump supporters become part of a troublesome little group.
Absolutely. Why do you think people join ISIS? They want a sense of purpose. They've been taken in by propaganda. People want something to die for, to make it beautiful to live.
The guest reflects on how modern life creates a void of meaning, as safety and luxury replace historical struggles that once defined human purpose.
For most of human history, people would die for their community. Now, we live in safety, which deprives us of purpose and meaning.
It's not just luxury, it's the staggering change in what's been normal living for thousands of years.
Our society's changing faster than genetic adaptation. We haven't adapted to agriculture yet. Genetic change happens with survival differences.
This rapid change leaves many disoriented, seeking new affiliations, even if they lack traditional ethical grounding, making the quest for integrity more urgent than ever. Today's discussion delves into the troubling erosion of integrity within political leadership. The guest argues that leaders engaging in fear-mongering and division betray foundational national values.
Denigrate other politicians, who denigrate segments of the population, who rank American citizens in terms of value. Politicians who do that are undermining our sense of national community.
Such actions evoke a sense of division akin to a family on the brink of separation.
It's extremely demoralizing and gives you the feeling like, wow, are mom and dad gonna split up? What's happening in this country?
It's also extremely irresponsible. The type of person that should be a leader is not the type of person that puts that idea out there.
The critique extends to age-old tactics, where politicians label the opposing party as the enemy, effectively splitting the nation.
It's fear-mongering in a lot of ways. And these are ancient human behaviors. If you tell your people that the enemy is actually the other political party, you are effectively splitting the country in half.
The conversation highlights the importance of viewing the entire nation as a unified tribe, urging a shift away from divisive practices.
You can act in that tribal way all you want as long as you define your tribe as the country, the entire country. When you start doing that, you destroy the country. You're way more of a threat to our democracy than ISIS is.
Both sides are criticized for refusing to accept leadership from across the aisle, seeing this behavior as antithetical to patriotism.
It was one of the things that was most disturbing about the debates when Donald Trump said that if Hillary Clinton won, he wouldn't necessarily accept the decision.
I really disliked it when some of my fellow Democrats said he's not my president. He is, actually. If you don't like that, work harder next time.
This lack of acceptance was equally criticized during Barack Obama's presidency.
It was equally disgusting when the shoe was on the other foot with Barack Obama, and some conservatives started saying that Barack Obama wasn't really American.
And it's antithetical. It's the opposite of patriotism. It's
The conversation delves into how collective hardships, like wars or disasters, forge unity and purpose. a stark contrast to modern life's comforts, which often lack these connections.
Yeah, I also found it pretty fascinating that when you were really young, you longed for something to go wrong so people would band together.
I was on a construction crew, and despite working with others, there was a yearning for tighter connections. Modern society has removed everyday danger, so people miss the clarity found in hardship.
The guest discusses historical examples, such as the Blitz in London, where communities became resilient forces against external threats.
During the Blitz, 30,000 people were killed, yet society unified. People slept in tube stations, put out fires, and dug through rubble together.
Remarkably, mental health issues decreased during these times, illustrating how shared adversity fostered community bonds.
Admissions to psych wards went down during the Blitz, but went back up after the bombing stopped. There was nostalgia for those days because people felt together.
The guest reflects on Sarajevo during the siege, noting how civilians long for the solidarity of war times despite the chaos.
Civilians in Sarajevo would say we missed the war because we were better people then. We took care of each other.
The host connects with similar sentiments from post-9/11 New York City, highlighting the temporary shift towards community.
Before and after September 11th, there was a very clear difference in behavior. It was a temporary community bond.
This discussion underscores a yearning for shared challenges. Even as modern life relieves daily hardships, it often leaves individuals longing for the unity and purpose that emerge in times of crisis. The discussion unfolds around how moving from a close-knit community to a more affluent, isolated neighborhood can negatively affect mental health. The guest highlights how such moves often correlate with increased risk of depression and even suicide.
Yeah, I have a buddy who moved from a tight-knit community to a big house and he's miserable.
That lifestyle is correlated with higher depression and suicide rates. It increases statistical risk.
The conversation touches on material possessions and their impact on happiness. The guest asserts that owning fewer things often results in more happiness.
Do you accumulate any material possessions?
Minimally. The less you have, the happier you are.
I always feel like once you get a boat, you're probably falling apart unless you're a fisherman.
The guest elaborates on the evolutionary perspective, explaining how resources once offered advantages for young men. However, in midlife without community involvement, they can lead to depression.
If you don't have a community and instead have possessions, you're dragging advantages into midlife that depress you.
The guest links this to celebrities and athletes who experience a similar struggle after acquiring wealth.
I wonder if that's the case with rappers from poor communities who gain wealth.
Athletes have the same problem. Retired athletes are at real risk of depression.
A poignant story is shared about a cancer survivor who misses the community that supported her during treatment. It's a testament to the powerful need for connection.
She missed the community of cancer sufferers and her own community that rallied around her.
If soldiers miss war and cancer survivors miss cancer, something's missing.
The narrative underscores the profound human need for connection, emphasizing that material wealth cannot replace the fulfillment of strong community bonds. This realization prompts a reevaluation of true happiness and fulfillment in life. The guest shares a profound journey through depression, marked by personal and professional trauma. He begins by acknowledging a deep sense of isolation, having lost connections with loved ones, and his sense of community. This realization was crucial in his path to recovery. As he describes, his experience felt like existing behind a bulletproof barrier, separate from those around him.
I couldn't hear them. I couldn't touch them. I was alone in this plexiglass cage. And that's what it sort of felt like. I was incredibly depressed. And then Tim, my good friend and brother and colleague who I made Restrepo with, he was killed in combat in Libya. And that was the final blow. I mean, then I really crashed. My marriage ended.
His psychological turmoil lasted for about a year, a time he describes as a wilderness period. During this phase, he made significant life changes by committing to sobriety and consciously choosing not to use antidepressants.
I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking alcohol. And drinking alcohol made me feel good. And when I was depressed, if I drank, I felt great. And so, there's a real incentive to do that. And I realized that it was depriving me of experiencing my actual life. Like my actual life was filled with some very tough things at the moment.
The guest was wary that antidepressants might lead him to accept a life that did not truly work for him. Instead, he focused on reintroducing solid, positive elements into his life, embracing activities that contributed to his healing.
When I talk to people that are depressed, and I always wonder, like, how much of what you're doing is life circumstances? How much is an actual some sort of a mental imbalance?
For me, my depression was a very healthy reaction to some tough circumstances I was going through. I was having a completely healthy, self-protective reaction to what was going on in my life.
By integrating these strategic changes, building new relationships, re-engaging in work, and discovering physical challenges like boxing, he found a path to recovery and growth.
And when you say you started putting, like, positive things in your life, good, solid things in your life, like, what kind of thing? A good relationship. I started working again. I started being physically really active again. I started boxing, actually. And that was incredibly frightening to me. But all that stuff really was really